Let's get started for the Palm Beach County Zoning Commission public meeting. Could we do roll call, please?
Good morning. Jerry Pavlik,
Present.
Christopher Kammerer,
Here.
Delia Mendoza,
Here.
Sam Caliendo,
Here.
Lori Veneport,
Here.
Allison Thomas,
Here.
Angela Jones-Wan,
Here.
Susan Kennedy,
Here.
James Williams.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's stand for the invocation and the pledge.
Lord, we ask your guidance today as we consider matters that will affect the safety and welfare of many people in our county. Help us to listen with open minds to matters that are important before us and to act on the matters that will benefit those who reside in our area. Keep our minds open and alert, our hearts compassionate, and our comments charitable. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Zoning Commission of Palm Beach County has convened at 9 a.m. in the Vista Center, Ken Rogers Hearing Room, to consider proposed applications and staff recommendations pursuant to and other actions the Palm Beach County Unified Land Development Code. The Commission takes final action regarding Class B conditional uses, subdivision variances, and Type 2 variances, and issues advisory recommendations on other requests. The Board of County Commissioners of Palm Beach County will conduct a public hearing at 301 North Olive Avenue, West Palm Beach, Florida, in the June M. Thompson Memorial Chambers, 6th floor at 9:30 a.m. on applications not subject to Zoning Commission final action. Zoning hearings are quasi-judicial in nature and must be conducted to afford all parties due process. The Board of County Commissioners has adopted procedures for conduct of quasi-judicial hearings to govern the conduct of such proceedings. The procedures include the following. Any communication with commissioners which occurs outside the public hearing must be fully disclosed at the meeting. Applicants and persons attending the hearing may question commissioners regarding their disclosures. Such questions shall be limited solely to the disclosures made at the hearing or the written communication made a part of the record at the hearing. Any persons representing a group or organization must provide documentation that the person representing the group has the actual authority to do so regarding the matter before the commission. Any person who wishes to speak at the hearing will be sworn in and be subject to cross-examination. The applicant and county staff may cross-examine witnesses. Any other persons attending the hearing may submit cross-examination questions, including follow-up questions, to the chair who will conduct the examination. The scope of cross-examination is limited to the facts alleged by the witnesses in relation to the application. Public comment is encouraged, and all relevant information should be presented to the Commission in order for a fair and appropriate decision can be made. I saw we had proof of publication. Do I have a motion?
Motion to receive and file.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. County Attorney, will you please swear in anyone speaking today?
Will all those wishing to testify on today's items please rise and raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Can I have an approval of the minutes?
Motion to approve the April 2nd, 2026 minutes.
I have a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. We had some changes to the agenda. Did we review those?
Yes, we do have some amendments to the agenda. Starting with item number 2, ABN DOA 2025-01653, the Palm Beach Commerce Center. There's a modification to Exhibit C3 to modify the use limitation number 1 to add some additional language. Item number 3, DOA CA 2025-502, Del Taco, West Palm Beach. It's a modification to Exhibit C1, specifically engineering condition 5, to modify the dates. As an add-on, I understand item number 4, which is DOA 2024-518, Westchester Village at Piper's Glen. The applicant is working with engineering specifically on condition number 56 of Exhibit C1, deleting that condition. On C, zoning applications with current future land use applications, item 6, PDDW 2025-960 DOA CA. Let me correct this so I get the right number. Ignore the DOA CA part of it. It's East Coast MUPD. To amend Exhibit C1, Environmental Resource Management, to add and modify language of that condition, amending the Plan Development District condition in C1 for signs number 2 to add and strike out language. And that's it.
Do I have
I'll motion to adopt the agenda with the amendments.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Now we're going to go over conflicts and recusals, starting with Commissioner Jones.
I have none.
I have none.
None. None.
None.
None.
None.
And I have none. Postponement withdrawals, do we need to review that?
So item number 1, CA 2025-956 Calvary Chapel Christian Church. That is a postponement to the June 4th Zoning Commission hearing, and no motion is necessary. It was administratively done.
All right, thank you. And then we have nothing on the consent agenda, so we're going to move on to the regular agenda.
Item number 2, ABN DOA 2025-01653. This is Palm Beach Commerce Center. The request before the board includes 2 abandonments and a development order amendment. Only item number C is the one that item number 1, the development order amendment, is the one that the Zoning Commission will make a recommendation on. So we can have the applicant do a brief presentation. I don't believe we have any cards for that item. You
We
want
don't,
do disclosures
but do we,
first?
Yep, disclosures, please.
I have none.
I have none.
None. I spoke to Josh Nichols.
No disclosures.
None.
None.
And none for me.
All right. Good morning. My name is Cameron Baker. I'm the land planner working with Schmidt Nichols. I'm here presenting to you today on behalf of the applicant. It's Hernandez Construction and Development. Before I hop into the summary of requests, I just wanted to give you a quick background of the applicant, Hernandez Development. So they're a vertically integrated real estate development and construction company with extensive experience delivering complex commercial and industrial projects throughout Florida and nationwide. Through the broader Hernandez Company's ecosystem, the firm provides comprehensive oversight across the entire development lifecycle from concept through completion. So with more than 23 years in the business, Hernandez platform has participated in the successful delivery of over 17 million square feet across more than 120 buildings, representing in excess of $2 billion in construction value. So the team brings institutional quality processes, experienced leadership, and a proven track record executing high-profile industrial and logistics development. So that being said, if this request is approved, we can assure you that it will break ground and it will be constructed. All right, so jumping in here, going to give you a general overview of the location we're looking at. So this is located at the southeast corner of Belvedere Road and Salisbury's Way intersection. It's located within an already industrial corridor there to the south of Belvedere Road and to the north of Southern Boulevard. So as you can see, to the south, we're looking at some auto sales. To the east, we have warehouse and distribution. To the north, we have a school, and that's separated by a 120-foot right-of-way, Belvedere Road. And then to the west, immediate west, we're separated by a 100-foot right-of-way, Salisbury Road, which is some commercial stores. So as you can see from this aerial, highlighted in yellow, you can see the industrial-centered uses in this area. You see a lot of outdoor storage, trailers, warehousing. So what we're doing is just filling in that block. All right, so moving on, just a quicker close-up here. The site consists of 8.13 acres. It has an existing zoning of MUPD and an existing future land use of commercial high with an underlying industrial. All right, so moving on to our requests. Today, we are requesting a development order amendment, and this includes the development of 84,200 square feet of warehouse and 9,356 square feet of accessory office on site for a total gross floor area of 93,556 square feet. Along with that, we're proposing a development order abandonment, which will abandon the previously approved Class A uses of a daycare and general gas station and convenience store on site. So I want to note that these uses are compatible with the existing zoning and future land use designation of MUPD and CHIND. So we're coming in here with something that is completely compatible with the site and its context. All right, so for a general overview, here's a visual of our graphic site plan. As you can see, we have that 93,556 square feet of building there. In the south, you can see we have a lake for on-site retention. That's approximately 44,000 square feet of that lake there. We have two-way circulation site-wide, and we have 3 points of access. All right, so moving on to some traffic-related items. The applicant agrees to install a right turn lane at the east access on Belvedere Road. That's going to help with truck stacking as they enter the site and maneuvering around to those loading spaces in the rear. And I want to note, the proposed development reduces the traffic counts from the previously approved site plan by approximately 2,309 trips. So that is a drastic change, from that, you can imagine, from that gas station to this warehousing use. Throughout the review process with staff, several vehicle circulation analysis were performed. There is adequate maneuvering for all trucks, tractor trailers entering, exiting the site, and maneuvering around those loading spaces as well. I also want to note from the previous approval, we are going from the previous approved had 4 points of access, and we are now proposing 3. All right, so that'll conclude my presentation. We respectfully request your approval of this development order amendment and the abandonment of the Class A uses. And I want to note that staff recommends approval with the subject conditions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any questions from the commission? No. Do we want to see anything from? No? Okay. Do we have a motion?
I'll motion to recommend approval of item 2A.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 3, DOA CA 2025-502, Del Taco, West Palm Beach. The request before the board is a development order amendment as well as a Class A conditional use. And we can turn it over to the applicant. Again, there's, I don't believe we have any cards on this one.
We don't. Do we need disclosures on this as well?
Yes.
I have none.
I have none.
None? I spoke to David Millage and Damian Brink.
No disclosures.
None.
None.
None for me.
Good morning. David Millage, Land Use Counsel for the applicant, here to present the project before you this morning. So this is for a Del Taco. Not really something that we have around Florida that often, but they're mainly out west. We do have some locations in the state, and this will be the first one in the county. So this is for a development order amendment. It's to allow a type 1 conditional A with drive-through. This is the location of the property. It's on the west side of Military, south of Community Drive. There is an existing inline retail restaurant buildings that are there. Here's a close-up of it. Again, there's 2 existing buildings. The proposed type 1 is near Military with that somewhat of an existing pad. This is the proposed site plan. The site plan includes, additional parking, queuing, the restaurant, and escape lane. And this kind of goes in more detail. We have 5 queuing spots before the menu board, 5 at the window, the escape lane, additional landscaping along Military and around the site. Architecturally, this is the brand standard. As a condition that we've proffered is to paint the remaining of the retail building so it is consistent. We're not going to be painting this lime green. It will be the white and with some accents of the brown. And these are the elevations of the proposed building. We do meet the requirements of the ULDCs and the comprehensive plan, and staff has done a thorough review of the project and has recommended approval. I'm happy to answer any questions that the commission might have.
All right, thank you. I'm going to start with Commissioner Kennedy this time. Any questions? No?
None, thank you.
None?
No questions.
I just one thing. We had spoken on the phone, and I was concerned because there was only 8 parking spaces in front of, and it's got 40 some seats. But there is going to be that walkover from the parking lot.
That is correct.
For pedestrians.
Yeah, so we do have a crosswalk that will lead from the western parking field to the restaurant. We do meet the requirements for the minimum parking for MUPD.
And the walkover is handicapped accessible because you only have 1 handicapped parking space.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No? Do we want to see anything from staff, or we want to make a motion?
Motion to recommend approval of item 3A.
Oh, that's
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Motion to recommend approval of item 3B.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Moving right along. Item number 4, DOA 2024-00518, Westchester Village at Piper's Glen, PUD. We have 2 requests before the board, a development order amendment modifying the master plan to add additional residential pod and units, and then a modification to a resolution specifically for pod J, removing some language there. So we can turn it over, we can do disclosures and then turn it over to the applicant, and I believe we do have cards on this one.
You do. All right, starting with Commissioner Kennedy. Any disclosures?
No. None.
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 I spoke to Bonnie Miskell and Josh Nichols.
None. I have none.
And I have none. All right, thank you.
Good morning. My name is Bonnie Miskell. I missed the swearing and I apologize, so I do need to be sworn in.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Thank you. I apologize on that one. Again, my name is Bonnie Miskell. I'm here on behalf of the applicant. Thank you very much for allowing us to speak and present to you today. And we're joined by my team so we can answer any questions that you may have. And we have some of the neighbors that we spent some time with working through some of the issues and concerns. And I'm sure some of them would want to speak. And so we'll get right to it. So this is a project called the Westchester Village at Piper's Glen, PUD. The property is centrally located within the Piper's Glen PUD. It's outlined in pink. It's the southeast corner of South Jog Road and Piper's Glen Boulevard. The original PUD, which was approved 30 some odd years ago, is over 640 acres. The underlying land use is LR3. The maximum density allowed within the PUD is 1,936 units. The zoning is PUD. The existing residential density is 1,764 units, and the available units within the PUD would be 172. And there was a question, and I'll hit it since the slide shows it right here. I believe the last amendment, and there have been several development order amendments over the years. I think the last one may have been a request for approval of some stealth towers. They are not on this site. They're not really near this site. They're shown where the stars are in pink. to the east, pretty significant distance. The overall rec pod, which is what we're going to talk about today, is 19.11 acres. And that rec parcel is comprised of a clubhouse, a cart barn, parking, and what was intended to be a mini golf par 3 course, which you see in the green to the north of the developed area within the parcel. Our neighbors are, to the east, Piper's Glen Estates, and I know there are some members of the community from that community. We have Lake Ridge Greens community to the west, and we have the Enclave community to the north. We've spent a lot of time. This application has been in progress for a few years now, and we've met with the neighbors on many occasions. And so this is the approved master plan. As you can see, the 645 acres, and again, where the stealth towers are located, and where the subject property is outlined in pink on the screen. This is the current approved site plan for the development parcel. Again, the golf amenities, the club, the cart barn are on the southern part of the parcel. Corresponding parking is just north of that, and where the par 3 course was intended to be is north and northeast. The request before you is a development order amendment to modify the overall master plan for the PUD to redesignate a portion of the rec pod to a residential pod, adding 49 units, and to modify conditions of approval for the Piper's Glen PUD to allow that. The development order amendment, we're also requesting an amendment to delete a condition of approval that was in a different approval for a different parcel within the overall PUD, Resolution 1995-149 for Pod J, which is the Enclave parcel, to also allow this project. The proposed master plan will preserve the country club facility as it is developed today with one minor modification, and to create an open space, essentially, portion of the residential development, which is on the east side of the country club clubhouse driveway, and on the west side, and all of that, of course, is south of Piper's Glen, would be the 49 townhome-like residential units. The development is comprised of, and again, they're not being called townhomes, but they're essentially townhome units. They are 3, 5, and 6 unit attached buildings spread throughout the residential parcel. Inclusive of the overall development is a tot lot, a clubhouse, and a green area. And then the proposed lake area, this parcel already has a very small lake. That lake will be reconfigured, and I'll go into that in a few minutes. And we have some buffers proposed, obviously, a berm, and much landscaping to be added here. I may go back for a second. I want to make sure that I didn't miss anything. Maximum height here, 3 stories, 35 feet. The required parking is 99 spaces. The provided is 126 spaces for the residential. There are 2 car garages in each unit, and you'll see that in our graphic. We are required to have 40% open space. We actually have 66% open space. The required recreation for this residential development would be 2.29 acres, and our proposed rec is 0.59 acres. This is the modified now rec parcel, which again includes an existing clubhouse on the south end of the parcel, the existing cart barn, which is to the northeast of the clubhouse, and the parking to support those uses. That would obviously have been the southern portion of the prior rec parcel. Through conversations with our neighbors, they, particularly Piper's Glen, they had requested that we modify the parking on the clubhouse parcel to move it a little bit away from them, which we did. We reconfigured the parking and pushed the parking away from the homes per their request. So the unit type is a modern Key West, old Florida concept with balconies that wrap around, front porch entries. This is the style that's proposed. The frontages, for the most part, and there are just a few exceptions, are along Piper's Glen, fronting as if they were fronting the street, a more urban product, and also the same for Jog. Or they're fronting the rec and open spaces that we have within our own site as well for the future residents' enjoyment. These are proposed to be condos or for sale product. And this is the 5-unit building, very similar, same style. Again, front porches oriented as more of an urban product towards the active open spaces or the street frontages. That also was a comment in some of our meetings with the community that they wanted to see more engagement. They didn't want the back of the homes to be fronting on Piper's Glen, so that they would be looking in the backyards of people's homes. Six-unit building, similar. And within these unit types, you have some 2 stories and you have some 3-story product we'll get to in a minute. So this is one of the unit types we're calling row house A. This actually is the 2-story version. It is the smaller unit at 1,858 square feet. All of these units are either 3 or 4 bedroom. These that you're looking at now are 3 bedroom. The first floor is the two-car garage at the entry level, the kitchen and a living and dining area. And then the second level would be the bedrooms and the family room, a family room area. Roof terrace would be accessible to the ownership of the property for bathing, sunbathing, et cetera, use. And so that's our 2-story, 3-bedroom product. The next one is the 4-bedroom product, and it's a 4-bedroom flex product, and I'll go into that in a minute. Again, first floor, the 2-car garage, the kitchen area, and the living and dining area. The second floor, the 3 bedrooms, like the 2-story product with a family area and bathrooms. But the upper level, the 3rd story, has a flex space that can be a 4th bedroom. It can be a theater room, it could be a workout room, it could be an office, but it includes a full bathroom. So that is available for up to 4 bedrooms. And then the and then on that level, there is the roof terrace, which is about half of the roof. So that is our other product type. That is 2,446, and that's the larger unit. So just to give you a perspective from our neighbors to the east, you can see the arrow, that's Piper's Glen. They're looking at, in this depiction, the enclave to the right half of this screen, which are, for the most part, single-family. There may be a detached product here. And then to the east, far east, and the left side of the screen would be this development. We were asked to put in a berm to further screen them from any activity on this new development parcel, which we've agreed to, and I'll show you that in a minute. We were also asked to expand the lake area. Today, it could be a green space that could be used for any recreation, really. It's just an open green space with a very small lake. With the lake, it will make it more passive in nature as far as recreation, but we will be utilizing it for pedestrian activity because there will be some sidewalk areas abutting this. And there's also a cart path immediately on the other side of the Piper's Glen property lines right here. This is a perspective from Piper's Glen Boulevard, or from the enclave's perspective. As you can see, this architecture is oriented towards Piper Glen. That's the front of the buildings right there. The back is where the vehicular access would be. We have porches, we have sidewalks. It is a more urban product. A lot of vegetation. And on the left side of the screen is the berm, which will elevate any landscaping that will be located on the berm to, again, further screen this development from the Piper's Glen existing community, which I might add, that's the back of their yard. So I think there is particular sensitivity to their privacy. And you can see the lush canopy that is intended to be located on this. And this is the main entry to the clubhouse. It was before, it will continue to be. Just west of here, towards the center generally of our frontage, is another access road that will be for the community itself. Lots of community outreach over the past few years. We've had a few meetings with the Enclave. Our official meeting where they voted was on August 28th, 2024. We had an official meeting with Piper's Glen on August 28th, 2024, a second meeting with them in September 2024. We've met with the Master Association, and you'll see shortly, who have voted in support of this project, as has the Enclave. And by the way, I do have an official letter from the Enclave that I would like to submit for the record in support of the project, and they are also here today. We've also met with Cobra, who are in support of this project. Met with a lot of people individually, a lot of people collectively. We've gotten some great feedback. We appreciate the community's participation in this, and we have to agree we think we have a better project for it. So again, these are some things that we've done as a result of their feedback. Lake was reconfigured to provide additional separation from their homes. The lake was a little bit closer in the first proposal. We've pushed it away from them, but we have enlarged the lake, which will create a larger buffer between them and what's going on west of them. We also have reduced the parking area that exists today. And by the way, there is virtually no screening today between the country club activity and parking and their community. There's very little vegetation. So that will be changed dramatically. But where you see the pink box, that's where the parking goes to today. We're pushing it back. We're berming around the parking area, and we're putting in some extensive vegetation to further protect that community. The landscape berm was added to our screen around the parking, but that also extends all the way up to Piper's Glen Boulevard. And we've added screening around the cart barn, which also is very, very limited under existing conditions. And you can see where the cart barn is, which will further screen the neighbors from any of the recreational and commercial recreational activity. And many trees, particularly along the cart path, which some are there today, but some of them haven't quite done very well. So we'll be doing some work on that path. And I just talked about the landscape berm and landscaping along Westchester Club Drive. So I think, oh, I forgot one thing. There is an existing lift station on the northeast corner of this property, immediately behind one of the homes and next to the Piper's Glen community. It looks like what you see on the screen. We will be screening that with vegetation to further buffer any of the users of Piper's Glen Boulevard, but also the communities that surround that, so that they're not looking at that lift station. And community support letters, which I think I've talked about. We have the Master Association on the right, and the Enclave, that they consented, by the way, to the second development order amendment, and that is the copy of the consent. And this is Cobra's copy of their approval of our development proposal. So in order for you to accept this and recommend in favor of this, we need to meet the criteria for development order amendment. Your staff, who did a very thorough review, and it's a very thorough staff report, has acknowledged that we have met all this criteria, and they are recommending approval. So we would respectfully request a recommendation of approval from you. And thank you very much, and we are happy to answer any questions that you or the community may have.
Thank you. We do have a few comment cards, so I think we'd like to do that before we open it up for questions.
Thank you very much.
Connor Corzine.
If you're here, please come up to the podium if you wanted to speak. No? Connor's not here? We'll just put that into record then.
None of the others wish to speak. There's 3 others in support, none of whom wish to speak.
Okay, thank you. Do we have questions from the commission? No? No?
Make a
Okay.
motion then to approve the item 4A.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to recommend approval of item 4B.
And I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, both motions pass.
Okay.
Brings us to item number 5, W 2025-01909, Modern Gardens at Delray Lake Estates. The request before the board is a Type 2 waiver to allow the substitution of a wall for a hedge. And we can do disclosures and then turn it over to the applicant. And I don't believe we have any cards on that one.
We do not on 5.
Disclosures?
Oh, thank you. Disclosures?
None.
None. I spoke to Delray Lakes Estates Representative Antoine Mikado.
No disclosures.
None.
None. Nor do I. Thank you. You may proceed.
Good morning, Commissioners. John Machado with WGI, Senior Project Manager representing the applicant here. As you heard from staff, the application today is for Modern Gardens, Delray Estates. The subject site is 21.5 acres, centrally located within the Delray Lakes Estates community. This site was last approved back in 2012, was the last time you saw it. It has had minor staff amendments through the years. Before you today, the surrounding, again, the community is Delray Lake Estates on the northeast and west, and a series of nurseries across Lake Worth Drainage Districts right away to the south. Request before you today is for consideration for a Type 2 waiver pursuant to Article 7C 2C, and it is the substitution of a 6-foot opaque wall for a 6-foot high hedge in the exact same buffer. Highlight here, this is the proposed site plan. It has no changes from what was previously approved, except for on the south property line within the 20-foot incompatibility buffer, which is what was previously approved, the removal of the wall and the installation of the hedge. That is better represented on the detail on the regulating plan, where you can see the previous proposed buffer with a 6-foot wall and now being replaced with a 6-foot hedge. It will maintain the opacity and the intent of the code. That only, again, is on the south property. Through staff's review, we meet all of the criteria for the waiver requests. Staff analyzed the application with all the facts, and it has found it to be in the intent of the code. Staff recommends approval, subject to conditions to we are in agreement with. This application would move forward to BCC. That concludes my presentation, subject to any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Any questions? No. I have one question, just because I wanted some clarity. So the only change from the opaque to the shrubs or the vegetation will be on the south side against the
Correct.
neighbor. So the rest of it, was that still an opaque wall, or was that shrubs?
The rest of the buffer remains, I don't think it was subject to walls. It's all single-family lots, backing up to single-family lots. They do have call-outs for fences along the property lines, but the replacement of the wall is only on the south.
Okay, all right, thank you. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve item number 5A.
Second? Anyone? Second. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Our last item on the agenda, item 6, PDDW 2025-00960, which is East Coast MUPD. The request before the board is an official zoning map amendment to rezone the property from agriculture residential to the multiple use plan development district, along with a type 2 waiver for the incompatibility buffer along the western and south property line. And I can do disclosures, and then we can turn it over to the applicant.
None.
I have none.
None. I spoke to Josh Nichols.
No disclosures.
None.
None.
Nor do I. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. For the record, Josh Nichols with Schmidt Nichols, and here this morning representing the East Coast MUPD. So I'll just jump right into formal requests. We'll look at the location in a second, but we have a rezoning from AR to MUPD. We have a type 1 waiver, which would be a staff level waiver, but we are showing you that, so kind of a comprehensive look at the project. And we also are asking for a type 2 waiver that will actually move on to Board of County Commissioners for final adoption of that. But that's for an alternative to a type 3 buffer to eliminate the 6-foot wall. We're not actually eliminating the wall. I'll show you how we're kind of substituting it. And then companion applications, we do have a small scale from LR2 to LR2 with CMR. So that's the commerce designation. We had unanimous approval of that comp plan 11-0 on April 10th. So here's the location of the site, just south side of Belvedere Road, just west of Jog. Many of you may be familiar with this area. The Armstrong Landscape. I think this is a pointer here. Not a pointer. Okay. So to our north is there's a gas plant, and then also just to the east of that, on the north side, is the Turnpike Crossing. That's Prologis. That's over 1 million square feet of industrial with Amazon distribution in there. To our south and west is Terracina PUD. So they do wrap around the site to the south. And we have some single family that's kind of hanging in there to our east. They do run a lot of home businesses and store vehicles and things of that nature in there. But and then to the east of that is Armstrong Landscape. And then the final cap on the end on Jog has also been recently changed to a warehouse industrial zoning. So those are some of the surroundings. Existing zoning is agricultural residential, so kind of one of those leftover pieces that's in the urbanized area. One thing to note, too, that I'll get into is this is in the airport approach path. So basically between Belvedere and Southern is all within this airport approach path. So there's policies within and sorry, I'll go into that, but this is changing to MUPD zoning district. So again, compliance with the comp plan. So let me go back to the airport approach path. There are objectives and policies in the comprehensive plan that discourage residential development within that approach path. So slowly those are changing over. And actually, if you're over 5 acres and you're not surrounded by residential on 3 sides, you don't even have to do a comp plan change to rezone to an industrial district, which I thought was pretty interesting. So if you know the McCraney property on Cleary, that actually has an LR2, so low residential land use, with an industrial zoning. So just kind of interesting, and again, why they're trying to promote that we don't have additional residential within that approach path. We're in compliance with the PBIAO, the TAPO, Haverhood Neighborhood Plan. So again, there's a lot of different components here that we fall in line with the comp plan. In terms of public outreach, we're really, again, there's a couple single-family residential units or lots to the east, and the owner has met with those folks, and they're actually hoping to one day change to industrial as well. But for now, they're standing where they are. So again, the major reach out was to the south to Terracina, and so we followed up with them many times. We got one piece of correspondence from them that asked for a wall, and so we'll talk about that. And we are providing a wall, and that's probably why we didn't hear back from them. But we've made several attempts. We did meet with their CDD. They actually have a CDD as part of their community. When we met with them, we said, it's great you're presenting to us, but you really need to talk to the HOA. I said, we've been trying to, but we're hoping you can help us get to them. Still never heard anything. So it was just that one piece of correspondence on an email. Anyway, so we've been following up. But next piece is the town of Haverhill. So we're in the town of Haverhill, I guess, future annexation area, and also the Haverhill neighborhood plan. So you can see it's an older map, but it does show this predominantly vacant / industrial transition area. So that's where the subject site exists. All right, now on to the site plan. So here's where we're going to talk about that type 2 waiver that we were discussing, alternative for the buffer. So I'll walk kind of from the perimeter in. So we're, as we talked about, fronting on Belvedere Road, we have one point of access that's an existing culverted bridge over the canal. So that remains. As you come into the site, we have it set up so that each each bay, so there's one building that's split up into different bays, and so we have it as an MUPD, so, small businesses come in and actually purchase their little fiefdom, right? So you get your little warehouse with accessory office, and then across the way we have accessory outdoor storage. So we've found that the market is asking for this type of use. So we're going to see, your HVAC technicians, your plumbers, your general contractors, maybe e-commerce or online retailers. There's a need for the workspace. There's need for secure equipment storage. So say that you have a plumber that has 5 vans. He's got a lot of equipment. He's got a lot of tools. You have to have it in a secure location. It can't be at your house, and it's difficult to find that product around the county. So that was kind of the impetus behind this. So as we talk again about the perimeter, so because it is industrial adjacent to residential, we're required a 25-foot landscape buffer, which is a type 3, and that does require a wall. So we are providing a wall. If you look on the right side of the site plan, which is the east side, there's a wall completely along the east side, along the south, and then that wall returns to the southwest corner of the building, right? So that's what our waiver is for. Instead of providing a wall along the west and then having the back of the building, basically with no openings or anything, being another wall, there's no reason to have 2 walls, right? So we said, let's get rid of that additional wall, and there's not going to be any activity on the west side of the building. It's just a solid wall, and that way we wouldn't have to provide that additional wall, maintenance issues, all those things. Now, one additional item that was unique and why staff is supporting that is because there's about a 25-foot wide areca hedge that's been growing on that common property line, and I think I have some pictures of this. So this would remain, so that's a picture, the upper left is a picture of the southwest corner of the site, and then the other photo is of the west property line. So it's a very dense landscape buffer. I mean, those homes from Terracina are right on the other side, but you can't see them. They're not going to see us. So we said, all right, that makes sense. Let's not do a secondary wall, and that's the purpose of the Type 2 waiver. So just wanted to kind of walk through that. We do have one condition. So we're in agreement with all of the conditions of approval, except for one. There's a use limitation condition. This use limitation condition says that hours should be limited to 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. My concern with that is you have these small businesses, say a plumber gets a call at 7 o'clock p.m., right? He's got to go get his truck. He may have to go put some piping or equipment in his truck. He goes to a site, does the repair, and comes back. Well, now it may be 9 o'clock, and he just needs to put away the equipment. And so I don't want that to be something that gets held up in the future for these small businesses to operate. I think that's very, very limited hours. And where I'm going with that is I think the incorrect time has been applied to this, and I'll show you why. So what's basically being applied is industrial properties with outdoor activity. We don't have outdoor activity. We do have outdoor storage, and where I want to go with this next is the 2 definitions that the code has for what outdoor activity is. So I've highlighted outdoor activity such as chipping, crushing, grinding, manufacturing, or processing, right? So that's one of our definitions that the code provides. The other is in the Article 1 in definitions, any functional operation associated with a use. In my mind, that would be if I'm manufacturing inside the warehouse space and I'm also manufacturing out in that outdoor activity storage area, right? That would be outdoor activity. We're not doing any operations outside. It's limited to equipment is stored there, trucks are stored there. It's a secure area just for their use. That's it. We're not as it says in outdoor activity. We're not chipping. We're not grinding. We're not manufacturing or processing, right? So what's been applied to us through this condition is industrial with outdoor activities, which is 7 to 7. If we were deemed without outdoor activities, which I believe we are, it's 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. So it's much different. And even furthermore, the Prologis property across the street, because they're outside of 250 feet of residential, they're 24/7, right? So again, I don't want to bring up as much what's going on the site right now, but I will say, right now it's an active landscape services company. They've got semi-trucks, front-end loaders, all kinds of diesel pushers and stuff in that property every day at 5, 6 in the morning. It's loud, it's dusty. All that's going away. Now it's going to be a very clean, light industrial use with the outdoor storage, and that's it. So I just wanted to say it's actually getting to a better place, and I don't want to limit those hours for these small businesses. County assessment, again, they're in agreement with all the compatibility and consistency with the comp plan and code. And with that, happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions?
Yes, yes, I do.
Sorry.
Go ahead. You could go first. Okay, great. Just what we were discussing yesterday about the wall and the back of the building.
Correct.
And then the hedge, and it's all nice and back there. There's nothing going on. However, there's access to the street. So we were discussing a gate possibly at the street. Would you be amenable to that, and staff, because we wouldn't want people camping back there and living back there, because it'll just be totally desolate.
We're happy to connect. That would be at the north west corner of the building, so the top left of your screen, basically connecting from the building edge to the property line. We're happy to do that.
And what does staff think about that?
I don't know.
You'll have to think about that. You think about it.
I have to think about it. I'm not entirely clear on where the gate is, because if it's blocking the entrance in, then there might be stacking.
No.
That it's going to be an issue, so I don't.
If it's only for landscape use in the back, just to prevent people from moving in back there. We have a housing problem.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just for safety.
I have a question. Regarding on the western side and the southern side, there are homes, what is it, Terracina community?
Terracina,
That
yes.
back up to that. Now, it looks like in the photographs that you showed, there was like a thick vegetation along there. So that's going to remain?
That will.
And
Yes.
then there'll be additional pine trees put up, is that right?
And add to it, yes. We'll have to add to it to make it a formal 25-foot buffer, yes.
Do you know what the distance is between the homes that back up to that western and southern wall and the line of vegetation? Like, basically, how wide are their backyards at that point, if you know?
I'm going to say they probably have a 15 to 20-foot setback from the property line. And then we've got a 25-foot buffer on our side. So you're probably looking at 50 plus till you get to the building.
Okay.
I have a question. Regarding the use limitation, I would not be in favor of changing that condition of approval for 7 to 7. And if you think that people don't use the outdoor part of a warehouse parking lot area, if they're allowed to, then you haven't been on site of areas that have that happen. And I think that because it is within the 250 feet of the residential area right next door to it, that's the reason for the use limitation. You can go 24 hours a day when you're further away. That's why the other development is allowed to do that. There's a reason for that rule. So that's my question, comment, whatever.
I had another question, and this is directed to staff regarding this. What is your take on that? Why 7 to 7 only?
Because there's outdoor storage, which will have outdoor activities. It's a code requirement. So eliminating the condition won't eliminate the fact that they still have to comply with code. The only way around it is a variance.
So then why is it on here?
I'm sorry?
Doesn't make sense, then why is it on here if they got to take it back to variance?
We put a condition on there. They're proposing a land use change. So right now they have a residential future land use. They're proposing a new land use to introduce industrial adjacent to these residential areas that are on 3 sides of it.
Well, that makes sense why you don't want it. Yeah, okay.
If I may real quick, the only where I was going with the argument on that is there's two different there's two different requirements. So if you're within 250 feet and you're industrial with outdoor activity, you're limited to 7 to 7. If you're industrial without outdoor activity, you're 6 to 11. So the same parcel, with or without outdoor activity, has a much different standard. And we're not doing any outdoor activity. It's storage. So
So then why didn't you go on with the 6 to 11 instead of trying to make it 24 hour?
we don't want it 24 hour.
Because outdoor storage is an outdoor activity. And outdoor storage turns into outdoor activities. And if you've been in a industrial zoning area where lawnmower guys are working or car repair shops are working and moving their stuff in and out of buildings, there are outdoor activities that occur. And I'm in favor of keeping that condition of approval.
We do have a comment card, too. I didn't want to get too far down without bringing.
Stuart Wally wishes to speak. Mr. Wally?
No?
Okay.
Okay. So we'll just put it,
As opposed.
he's opposed. We'll just put it in the record as opposed. Sorry, I didn't want to get too far down without letting the public speak, but we want to continue the conversation on that, or just for clarity, what we are going to approve that staff has put out is the hours as 7 to 7, right? If
You're making a recommendation on both.
Okay.
I as well like to keep it at 7 to 7. I have concerns when you have wonderful small businesses there that might be doing cabinetry work that has doors open that you can hear saws pass then, or as you said, mechanics. I support it to 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., but I don't support it from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. just for the noise. So close
Just
to
as a
residents.
point, we can't do any auto mechanic work here. That's not a use that's permitted.
She didn't say that. She says cabinet construction.
How about
So-
cabinetry?
Cabinet, yeah, you
Which
can.
I adore, the small business and the art and cabinetry, but I don't necessarily know if I would want to hear it in my backyard at 8 or 9 p.m.
Yeah. Any other discussion? No? All right.
I'll motion to recommend approval of item 6A.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Motion passes.
And I'll recommend approval of item 6B.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion's passed.
Thank you.
That's the end of our agenda, unless there's any comments from the board.
Nope.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Well,
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion.
Any of those who are
Motion
not can
passes.
stay here by themselves.
okay.